Hey, what's up, everybody? Hello, hello, hello.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me on again. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I was about to say like 12 miles for you is like 14 ferry rides or something, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah,
The whole
there's
show?
right. So PAX West, PAX Prime, whatever you want to call it, is the first PAX, and the PAX stands for Penny Arcade Expo for those that don't know what it is. But it's the original, and it's been around for a while. I couldn't tell you honestly how long it's been around, but Microsoft's there, Sony's there. They got a ton of other video games and even board games too. It's a big, just huge event in the Seattle, Washington State Convention Center, and tickets they set records every year, but tickets went on sale very late, like maybe I want to say like 2 months before the it was supposed to happen,
Oh,
and
wow.
people were freaking out. I mean, it's one of these events that it really does sell out in under an hour when they go on sale. I think maybe this year was like 45 minutes or something like that. So if you don't get in line like the second these tickets go on sale, you're gonna have slim pickings. And so I think there was some Monday badges left, but Saturday and Sunday, obviously, being the most popular, they go really quick. So I've been fortunate enough to get tickets 3 years in a row, and I'm sure I'll be there next year. It's always over Labor Day weekend, so I've got that Monday off, so it's nice and easy to get up there. Seattle's a great place to visit, so. We'll make it happen though. I'll get you an extra. I'll get you a Saturday at least, and we'll figure something out. But it's unfortunate that we missed each other. Just had a tight schedule, but we'll make it happen next year.
Not a whole lot, just a little bit of Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare. Played that with my son a little bit, and I fired up some Kingdom. I believe Kingdom New Lands is the full title. Huge time sink. Talked about it before. Lots of fun. That's about it.
This is going to be a pretty short segment because I didn't really play all that much either. I did get a chance to, so I don't even know why I'm on the show other than maybe PAX, but I did get a chance to play some FIFA 18, which I know everyone's really excited to hear me talk about FIFA, but played a little bit of the demo. Looking forward to that coming out. Um, and that's really it as far as Xbox goes. I can't think I play of anything else. We got kicked out of our not kicked out. I always say kicked out for whatever reason. We got eliminated. It sounds like we cheated if I say kicked out, but we got eliminated from the True Achievement GTASC tournament like I guess a month ago now, maybe around a month. So we were in it for 8.5 months, which is pretty impressive. I think got top 40 overall, and so I've been kind of taking a break since then, having to put up 3,000 to 4,000 gamer score a week for 8 months is takes a toll. So I've been enjoying other things at the moment, but there's some good titles coming out at the end of the month. So looking forward to getting back in it. It's at 532,226. I believe for the year, I'm just north of 50,000 gamer score.
No, I'm around 30, which is amazing because I was like hovering at 3,000 for like 2 years. Oh, totally. Oh, totally. Because I seem to
Is
play
it
these
amazing though?
games. They give me like zero gamer score. I finish the game and I get nothing. Yeah.
There you go. That one. You got to do all the side stuff. I remember that one. And there's a 360 version, and when you're done with that, you can play the Xbox One version. It's back to back. Okay, yeah, sure. So, like I mentioned, this was my third PAX West. It's it's a lot to take in. So if it's you walk a lot. There's multiple floors. I think 6 total levels of things to see.
Oh, wow.
And the convention center itself is very big, and then you've got this annex right next to it that's also very big. So, I mean, you could spend a whole day and not play anything. You could walk around. I mean, the people watching, like some people just go crazy with costumes and cosplay, and so there's that element to it. Um, there's people bring their own computer, and they uh, go into this little reserved area. And so, to me, it doesn't make much sense. But you bring your own computer to this convention center with a bunch of video games and a bunch of people walking around, and then you go into a corner and play your computer game. But um, there's other areas. They've got this console free play where you can check out any console game that you want to play and just go to an Xbox 360 or Wii or whatever you want to play. They have a ton of games, so it's much more than just a area to check out the latest and greatest. But don't get me wrong, there were a lot of companies showing off a lot of good games, a lot of games that haven't even come out yet. So Microsoft had a big presence. They had the what Super Lucky Tale, which is pretty popular. Cuphead, which has been generating a lot of or a lot of buzz the last like 2 years, I guess, 3 years, 4 years. So it's finally coming out at the end of the month. So they had a couple stations of that. They also had like I don't think they had any Xbox One X demos playing. It was all just on the Xbox One S. I got to be careful to pronounce that correctly so people understand. But they had like the Xbox One X like exploded out, so all of the different pieces that make up the console kind of on display as like a little kind of showpiece. So that was kind of neat. I'm trying to think what else they had. They had a couple other games. The new Forza. And there's a few more, but Microsoft always has a fairly good showing just because they're right next door. So it's fun to see them there. They don't come, as far as I know, they might be at East, but they don't come to South, which is there's a couple other PAXs that happen throughout the year. There's one that starts the year very close to home in San Antonio. So I go there as well in January. And then there's one in Boston that is probably definitely the second biggest of the three, plus there's one in Australia, which I'll probably never make it to. But I think Microsoft might go out to that one. The PAX South is more kind of indie / board game affiliated, which I've gotten into board games, as I mentioned on the last show. So I definitely try to play a lot of board games at PAX West, but there's much more of a presence at South. So, and obviously a lot of people go for the swag, the free stuff. Almost, everything sells out after the first couple days, but some of the crazy things, I mean, you could get, I think the first PAX that I went to, I took home like 13 shirts. Just focusing on swag. And then I realized like I put a lot of effort into trying to get all these shirts that I never wear. So I just go for the experience now. If I pick up some free stuff, cool. But otherwise, I'm just there to kind of experience the whole thing. So the zaniest thing this time around was Bethesda always has a really big booth. They had some VR stuff going on, but they also were demoing the new Wolfenstein. And when you got done playing the Wolfenstein game, they gave you a strawberry milkshake.
Oh, nice.
So that was probably the weirdest swag of the group. Everyone else would give you like shirts or wristbands or pins, but Wolfenstein gave you a strawberry milkshake. Have you guys played? I think it's still in game preview, but Ark I think is finally coming out of game preview or just released or something like that. They had a huge T-Rex that you actually would line up in a line to then climb up some stairs and sit on a T-Rex and get your picture taken. Like the thing was probably, 15 feet, 20 feet long and maybe 10 feet high. So it was a pretty cool picture, but they had some dinosaurs, fake dinosaurs out that you could get on. And then, as I mentioned, Sony had a pretty big booth setup. I didn't really walk around. They were right next to Microsoft. I didn't really go over there too much. Nintendo had a pretty sizable area, and then the rest was just kind of, well, a lot of PC gaming stuff. So Twitch had a booth, and they were, had their own little lounge and their live setup, and then there was a lot of, the big thing about PAX is like the indie presence. So a lot of indie developers, a lot of people trying to show off their game and get some press. So a lot of organizations come. Like I'm wearing this shirt. I don't know if you can see it, but it's the Extra Life event is coming up in November. It looks like my feed is a little delayed, so it looks like I got the text of my shirt at least. So Extra Life is there, as well as Child's Play and a bunch of other organizations. So it's just kind of this great convergence of a bunch of different gaming. Like everybody that is there loves to play games. I don't want to say video games, but just games. So it's a great event to go to. I'd highly recommend going to it. And if you've never been to Seattle, Seattle's a great place. So we went to Pike's Place. We went over to Bloedel Reserve and Bainbridge, which is really nice. Went to the Glass Museum, Chihuly. I'm butchering some of the Glass Museum there. So we kind of, myself and my girlfriend, we like to go to PAX on Saturday and Sunday, get all the people watching in the games, and walk 5 miles, and then on bookend that with things around Seattle. So if I were to recommend kind of a time period, Saturday and Sunday are the busiest days. So if you want to see it at its prime, those 2 weekend days are the best. Most people, and then go experience what other things Seattle has to offer, which is quite a bit. So so the thing about PAX is that the lines are very long, and um, even at their maximum state, they have a bunch of volunteers that help manage the lines. And so when the lines are capped, they you can't obviously get in them, and then there's an hour wait to play a game like Cuphead, for example. I was interested in playing Cuphead, and then I walk up to the person and it's like, oh, this line's capped. Oh, well, you can walk over in 5 minutes, and it might be uncapped, but then it might not, and then it's an hour to wait until then. Like, this game's going to come out in 2 weeks. Like, I don't care. So to answer the question, I didn't actually play any video games at PAX. I watched a lot of people play video games, but I didn't feel, unlike last year, which I waited in a couple different lines, one to play Halo Wars 2 and a couple other games. Played some VR 2 last year, but I did not play any video games at PAX really because of that reason. And 1 hour might be reasonable, right? You might be thinking, oh yeah, I'd wait an hour. I'm going to be there for 2 days, and the expo hall is open from 10 to 6, so that seems reasonable. Well, for Wolfenstein, for example, it's a 4-hour wait. And so it's like, okay, so now I can do one thing, and that's pretty much it. So what people would do is they'd pick that one thing, and they'd say, okay, I'm going to do that one thing. And they would line up early, get there 2 hours before the expo hall opens, sit there, right, playing their 3DS or whatever it may be, and then walk fast to the Wolfenstein demo or the Bethesda VR or some of the other big things that were there, and they'd get there and they'd probably be beaten by a couple people, so they'd have to wait an hour in line. But then for the remainder of the day, the line is always at 3+ hours. And so I said, to hell with it, I'm not doing that this year. So I waited in my fair share of lines for other things like Piroshki, which is at Pike's Place, but I did not wait in line for any video game.
I love Wolfenstein, but not 4 hours. No.
It's not, and you're really cramped too, right? Because the line like wraps around the whole booth twice,
Mhm.
and so you're just sitting there and on the ground, and you've got nothing else to do because there's no cell reception, and um, maybe if you brought your DS, you could play some Zelda or something. I don't know, but other than that, it's just boring, right? And then you get to play. The problem is the demo. The reason why the lines are so long. There was another. What was the other big one? I can't remember. Um, I think it was maybe Evil Within 2 or whatever the new Evil Within game. They'd say like, oh, line is 4 hours long from here, but it's a 45-minute demo. I'm like, well, that's why your line's so long. Like you've got a 45-minute demo. Like, so on one sense, it might be worth it to wait in line to get to experience the game that long. But maybe if you make the game like 10-minute demo, and then the line goes through faster. So I don't really understand the really long demos. And to me, I lose interest real quickly anyways. So if you make the demo real short, then I can get a bunch of demos in and I can figure out if I want to buy a game or not. So I just did other things instead.
Yeah, because if it's a 45-minute demo and you're not feeling it 10 minutes in, it's torture.
Right.
You just
Right.
waited all this time and now you're struggling.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's why I played some board games instead and
Nice.
used my time wisely there. So,
Any good stuff board game wise? I have to ask.
yeah. So played. Have you played the original Clank? I know, Rob, you're into board games. Have you heard of
Got it
Clank?
right there. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Got it.
So there's a new Clank called Clank in Space. Have you heard of that one?
Yes. Oh yeah, that
So
was a lot of buzz. Pissed a lot of people off at Gen Con this year.
yeah. So a lot of people thought, at least what I had read, that it was a reskin. They just took Clank, which is a great entry level deck builder, very popular. Actually played that at last year's PAX South, and really enjoyed it and bought it. And then I see that Direwolf's here with Clank in Space. I'm like, you know what? Hey, there's literally there are two open spots. One, and I was like, hey, let's play Clank in Space. Why not? And so it's a same premise, right? Deck builder, but you've got a lot more things to do. It's a heavier game, I guess. So the game lasts longer. I'd say it probably would last with four people, hour and a half, maybe longer,
Yeah.
depending on how much you play. There's a lot more going on. The board is a lot more complicated. It's got some modular pieces to it, so you can flip. And Clank, you could just flip the game board over, but in this one, you've got three pieces that you can flip over, so you have a lot more replayability, I guess, with your
Sure.
game board. And the objective's still the same. You got to get from point A to point B, get the loot, and get out. But there's a lot more intricacies to it. You're on a spaceship. There's a limited amount of space pods, so each person that gets out, like the exit point might change for you. You could get stuck, which would particularly suck. There's a couple other things that you have to do before you can get into the ending area, and the items are a lot more important. So you could buy like a backpack or a key from the store. Those didn't really mean anything to me. Like maybe the backpack if you're particularly if the game is particularly slow moving, but there's like this portal that you can jump around, and there's only two of them. So if you're playing a 4-player game and you don't have the portal or the key to get past these locks, which I didn't, it's particularly hard. So I ended up writing the game off originally because I was like, oh, it's just a reskin of Clank. But after playing it, I ended up pre-ordering it. I had a lot of
Oh
fun
wow.
with it.
Okay.
So I'd recommend it. I also got to play the prologue to Pandemic Legacy Season 2.
Okay.
Have you played Legacy?
I've heard all about him. I've never played it. Just can't get the time commitment or the people.
Yeah, that's the big
To play it,
problem,
yeah.
right? It's so Legacy is a 12-month commitment in game, right? You have 2 plays
Technically,
per month.
that's 12 minimum, really, isn't it? Because you
Right.
want to pass them.
Right. So if you won every single month, which congrats to you, like you're
Yeah.
more, that's not going to happen, right? The game tries to screw you over as much as it can if you're familiar with Pandemic. But so I think we ended up playing when I have played Legacy Season 1 with 4 people. I think we only failed like maybe 4 or 5 months or something like that. We ended up scoring in the like good category. Not, I think we're 2 tiers away from the top, or 1 tier away from the top. Anyways, a lot of fun. A really good take on a board game, and for all the people that say that, oh well, board games I should be able to play over and over and over again. Like, well, I challenge you to come up with a board game that you've played 18 times. Because there's not a lot out there. And for what it costs, and it continues to drop as we get closer to season 2, it's definitely something that you should play. Even if you don't like Pandemic, I'd still recommend it. So, got to play the prologue to season 2. It's interesting. I've already been sold on it. So, it's the inverse of Pandemic. So you want to keep cubes on the board, in like this post-apocalyptic kind of scenario, where you're kind of trying to aid civilization from having this virus spread even further. So you've got to be managing supply cubes on different cities, and most of the board is unknown. So you would assume that as you play the game, the board would expand. So it'll be interesting. But I seized the opportunity to play that. There's a new set of Splendor expansions called Cities of Splendor. Splendor is a very popular kind of resource / engine building game. Very simple, but you can use a lot of strategy to it. They decided to take one box and just load it with like 4 expansions, I think. So we played with 2 of them, and I think they charge. I'll have to look it up, but I think they're charging like $45 for the expansion.
Oh, really?
Which is more.
That much?
Yeah,
Wow.
Which is more than the original game, or I think. Let me look it up real quick. So the cool thing is it comes with a ton of expansions, but the bad news is, yeah, it's MSRP is $40. You can get it on pre-order from Cool Stuff Inc. for $34. Splendor's been out for a while, and it is, let's see,
at least 2 years, if not more.
Yeah, it's the same price as the expansion. So you have to get the expansion does not come with the base game. So you'd have to get the base game and then pay the same exact for this expansion. I don't know. There's a new mechanic for strongholds that you can kind of, instead of reserving cards, you can put a stronghold on the board, so that way it's your card. But it's still in play, and people can move your strongholds around. And then instead of nobles, there's cities, which are an immediate win condition. Instead of, well, actually, that's not true, right? So the funny thing about playing the expansion was we were actually told how to play the expansion incorrectly, because we were like, oh, this seems really powerful and a horrible unbalanced expansion. But then we looked at the rules and we're like, oh, hey, look, that's not how you play it at all. So the game was kind of already ruined, but we decided to play by the rules from then on. So instead of nobles, there's cities, which are harder to get, so it elongates the game a little bit, and you can only have one city instead of attracting multiple nobles potentially. So it's just a little bit different of a variant. It was okay, but I don't think I'd recommend it at definitely not at that price point. Trying to think what other things I played. Asmodee had like a little area that you could play in, so played a few games over there. They were demoing Captain Sonar, which is already out right now. It's the 4v4 or 3v3 real-time or turn-based submarine piloting game. Really fun. Would highly recommend that if you have a big group, but that's one of the big problems is finding 8 people that want to play a submarine tactical game.
It's where like everybody has their own station.
Yep. So
your thing. Yeah.
your team versus team, and each person has a role. So one role's, piloting the submarine. One role is the radio operator, which is trying to figure out where the other enemy submarine is. One role is charging up and using the abilities that you unlock as you pilot, as you move around. And then the engineer, for whatever reason, just breaks things. Every time you move in a certain direction, you break things. So it is a lot of fun, especially the real-time version. It gets a little crazy. And then they coming out with a smaller version of that called just Sonar, which is basically merging the first mate and the captain together, and the engineer, or the first mate and the captain, and then the engineer and the radio operator. So it's 2v2 instead of 4v4. Can't see any other differences other than that. So if you have 4 people that want to play, Sonar might be a good pick.
And I think that one's a Target exclusive or something like that.
Is it?
I remember hearing that. Yeah, because I think I saw it at Target. It was a couple days ago. It's one of those weird.
I don't see it on my Cool Stuff. If you are into board games, Cool Stuff Inc. is one of the best websites that I've found to buy board games. And Target, like you mentioned, is getting. I saw that they've got this huge list of 30 or 40 board games that they're bringing in stores. A really popular one, Santorini, which is on my list to buy.
Oh yeah,
is evidently is. Oh, you've played it?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's that one's a good one. I want to get that, and evidently that's available in Target. And I heard that it's cheaper than it kickstarted for, and the parts or the pieces that it comes with are pretty much the same quality. So that's pretty cool. People were worried about when Target took it over that they were gonna crap out on the quality of the pieces. So that's good to hear. And I bought a board game. So trying to figure out how to, in the dead times, whether we're just exhausted from walking around this very large convention center, maybe we need a break, and so we brought one board game along, which is my new favorite of the moment board game, King Domino.
Oh, nice.
Highly recommend King Domino. It's only $18. I played it with Franco and Carlos and some other people that we met up with, and I've sold, I think to this date, I've sold 3 copies of King Domino. It's a very great entry-level board game, great for kids, very easy to learn. So I brought that along, and we played quite a few games of King Domino. In the meantime,
it's Game of the Year this year.
Yeah,
it's German Game Award.
It's definitely worth all the hype, and interested in Queen Domino, which should be coming out in October. So yeah, I've taken my addiction to buying Xbox games and just funneled it straight into board games. So I've got
I know that all too well, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I've got quite a lot of board games now, and it doesn't stop. So now, but the problem is I'm still buying Xbox games, and then I'm still buying board games. So I'm not really sure when it's going to end, but hopefully never.
It doesn't. It's a very deep rabbit hole. It's it's just on hiatus. It doesn't need to be revitalized. It's not that. Mm-hmm.
Hey, you can I can talk board games probably better than Xbox if you've gotten that drift at the moment. So if you ever need a fill in, I'm definitely in on the board game scene. So trying to think what else we checked out. I was trying to find some games to play kind of as things kind of tapered off on Sunday. Everybody was tired, and it's like, oh, let's, they also have a board game free play, so everyone kind of was like, yeah, can we play a game that everyone can play? Because Kingdom Domino is only 4 people, and so checked out Coup, which I own but didn't bring. I don't know why. It's a really small card game. I think it's a lot of fun, and it gets mixed reviews depending on who I teach it to. But it's a social deduction / bluffing card game that's I think it's serviceable. It's fun. So we played a little bit of that, and then we also played a little bit of Settlers of Catan, so classic.
Yeah.
But yeah, a very in my opinion a great PAX. It checked all the boxes again for me. I mean, it's just like I said, I don't really have to play video games at PAX. I got some board games in. That was pretty cool. I think I'm taking a little bit of a break from Xbox at the moment. So, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to wait in those lines. Those lines are just ridiculous. So, I also saw some panels. Got to see Major Nelson's panel at the Westin, which has happened to have been my hotel. And the funny thing about PAX is if you thought the convention center is big, well, they don't have enough rooms for these panels. And so there's a ton of, like you could go to, if you went to every single panel, you might never even step in the expo hall floor. And they're in all of the different surrounding hotels. So the Westin is half a mile away from the convention center. So if you're at the expo and wanted to go to Major Nelson, you'd have to walk half a mile through downtown Seattle to get to the Westin, which is in a nice big room. Major Nelson had Mike Ibarra on the show, and his other regular co-host, I think, and then played some Cuphead. So that was pretty cool. I didn't know this, and I guess I should have, but the lead designer from Cuphead, she was at Gamescom too, and did some interviews. But every single frame in Cuphead is hand drawn.
Oh,
every
wow.
single frame. It's right. And so you start thinking like that. She's threw out a number like 14,000 pieces of paper, and it's like, man, that's insane. Like the game looks suspect to me. Like it looks like it's gonna be somewhat boring, but just I just feel compelled, I guess, to at least give it a shot because it's impressive that they finally pulled this off. I mean, it looks great, and I hope it's great, but we'll see what. Yeah. They played it during. They invited somebody up on the stage and played it, and we were watching them play. And even with her, she's played, I'm sure, the game 400 times over, and this random guy or kid, I think, they couldn't get past the level that they were demoing, one of the first levels in the game. So it's gonna be difficult. It's one of those like Super Meat Boy style, or really like there's the Super Meat Boy like platforming elements, and then there's the shmup style Japanese, don't get hit games. And so it's going to be difficult. I just hope that it's not super repetitive. But I guess we'll see. Coming up soon. And then my favorite panel is the Pitch Your Game Idea panel, which I try to go to every single PAX, and I'd highly recommend. I don't go to a lot of panels. Those were the only 2 panels that I went to, but the Pitch Your Game Idea panel never disappoints. It's basically a panel where whoever shows up gets in a line and pitches their game idea, pitches pitches their game idea. Yeah. And the funny thing is it's not what you think. It's not like there's a bunch of game developers sitting there like ready to make a game that was somebody's good idea. No, it's a joke panel. What's the dumbest game that you could possibly think of to make everyone laugh? And you win. So there's a couple different things that happen. Luckily, there was no like politically charged video games because especially at PAX South, there's always a few. And that just makes everyone uncomfortable. At least it just doesn't go over very well. It's one thing to think in your head that it's funny, and then when you start in front of a large group of people, it's like, no, that's not funny. So there's that, and then there's the people that didn't read the prompt and actually are pitching a game that sounds good, or at least they're very passionate about. There was one individual, she was really like obviously nervous about getting on in front of this microphone and pitching her game idea. She had obviously very passionate about it and put a lot of thought into it, but it wasn't funny. Like that's the whole point of the panel, was it's got to be funny or stupid or whatever. Like so felt bad, but it's like well, that's a real game, so no. The winner, so you get through this huge line, about 30 minutes of stupid idea pitches, and then the people that got a yes get back up and talk about downloadable content or answer questions based on their game. But the winner of to prove to you how ridiculous this panel is, the winner of this year's PAX West pitch your game idea was Zillow and Tinder merged together, so you had a house dating sim. So that was the winner. The runner up was, the game was called Dude, Where's My Spellbook? It was about a wizard that is hungover, and as you go through the game, you sober up and you remember the spells that you've forgotten. So you're totally useless at the beginning of the game, and then as you progress, you get more aware and find your spell book and able to cast spells. So that's what we're dealing with, right? We're dealing with really bad game ideas, but as long as they make you laugh, then you got a good chance. So I always like that panel, and that was the reason why I couldn't miss that panel. So that was the reason why scheduling a dinner for Saturday night was difficult, because I had not talked to Franco. I didn't even meet up with him on Saturday. Never saw the guy on Saturday. The cell reception is horrible in that place, and it's huge. I mean, hopefully I've done a decent job of describing how big this place is. And so, by the time the expo hall closes, which is 6, and then this panel is at 8:00 somewhere else, only had a small window, and I'm trying to coordinate, and so I was just like, oh, man, this is just too difficult. But like we said, next year I'll buy you some tickets. We'll meet up. We'll have a good time. you know, it it's one of those it's one of those things that, like, even if you couldn't go, like, you could sell them really easy, right? Like, and you might be thinking like, how much does this cost? Well, it's like $40 for a day or something like that. I think they might have just increased the price this year to $45 a day. So, I mean, we're not talking a ton of money. And if you wanted the full PAX experience, there's panels from 10:00 to midnight, right? They've got concerts going on. I mean, it's not just the expo hall. It's so much more than that. And you get to meet potentially a lot of good people. A lot of people, which surprised me, come to PAX with board games or video games or whatnot, and they grab these little cones that say LFG on them, which stands for looking for gamer. And I've seen people bring in suitcases of board games, go to a huge table, plop down their board game, XCOM or Star Wars or whatever, and put that cone up and say, like, hey, I can't normally play this board game of 6 people wherever I'm at, right? I might have just 1 or 2 people that want to play with me. So I'm just going to use this PAX to meet new people and teach them how to play this game that I really want to play with with a larger group. So it's there's so many different things that you can do at PAX, and like I said, Seattle is a great town to visit. So highly recommend it if you're ever have the ability to go to one PAX. But Seattle is PAX West is the definitely the most popular. Absolutely. It's not too far, right? Not too. I'll get them for you. I, I'm on the computer every day for my job, and so um, it's just the anxiety level starts going up as the days get closer and closer to the release date, and so you start. The key is you got to follow PAX Twitter on mobile notifications. So every single notification you get that, or every single tweet that PAX sends out from April to July, you need text notification of, because you got to be on the ball right when those tickets go on sale. And then you also get in the queue for the hotel too. They offer discounts for hotels. You wouldn't need that, but if you're planning on traveling, they do offer discounts for hotels if you're going to PAX. So yeah, that's my rundown.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, not too much this week. First off, one of the latest Insider builds added 1080p recording. Looks like previously it was capped at 720p. And or actually, no, this update might be coming soon. I don't know if it's released yet. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we've got that. So that's pretty cool. And then Okami was released from Capcom quite a few years ago. It's going to be re-released as an HD version, and it'll be out on Xbox One. December 12th is the release date. So I know a lot of folks really love the Capcom games. This the art on this one was supposed to be like amazing. I don't know if I would call it that, but it's different. So that's going to be coming down the pipe, and then there's a web comic, Cyanide and Happiness. They have a game on Kickstarter for consoles, I believe PC as well. And the Xbox release of their game, so it's called the Cyanide and Happiness Adventure Game, is the name of the title. There is an Xbox related stretch goal, meaning they had stretch goal, an Xbox version, and there's a couple more weeks left for this. So if you like this webcomic, you might want to check that out and back it. And then lastly, Forza Motorsport 7 is coming out pretty soon. And the achievement list got released. Expect more of the same achievements that you've gotten to know and love all of these years, including got a short little list of them. Something like drive faster than 250 miles an hour in any car, compete a race with every car from a Porsche, and yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is an interesting one, and it's called Tune It Up. Share one of your tunes. So what does that mean? Are you going to be able to do your own music in there?
Like the, yeah.
Oh, I that makes more sense. I don't know why I was thinking music. Duh. That's Outrun that has the music, not not Forza. But yeah, that's about it. Actually, I think it has 1080p. I think has to go to external. I think it has to go to the disk. Well, maybe not external, but definitely has to go to disk. Yeah. Oh, I see.
Mhm.
Hey guys, two-part question here. What game release during the remainder of this year are you most looking forward to playing? And what game is already out that you wanted to play but have not got around to doing it yet?
Oh man. Um, so to answer the first part of the question, I'm gonna just default to FIFA. I'm sorry. I'm a sucker for the EA franchise of FIFA, so I'm most looking forward to playing the latest version. The demo does gives me a little taste. It's kind of a disappointing demo, but good enough for another week or so. And then, as I mentioned last time I was on the show, I really haven't gotten to play any of the good games this year. So there's a lot of them that I missed. I think the new Mass Effect. I know it's gotten kind of bad reviews, right? But I missed out on that one probably for the better. But I'd like to at least, I'm a fan of the franchise. I'd like to at least experience it, and maybe my expectations, since they'll be lower, well, I'll enjoy it maybe more than others did. But trying to think of anything else, but oh wow, it's not bad. Um, yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. So I guess that I'll keep that as my answer, but I'm trying to think what are some of the other games that have come out this year that no. No, that's a good one too. Yep, yep. Yeah, I missed out on that one. That would have been a good one too. Yeah, those probably maybe even more. But so Wildlands, don't you need like a group of people to make that fun, or can you still play it by yourself? Mhm. Right. Yeah, that's a good one too. So both of those I think would be mine.
So the one that released that I didn't play that I wanted to play is the new Dishonored that just came out on Friday. It's been a crazy busy weekend. Yeah, it's been a crazy busy weekend. I haven't had a chance, but I know that it's sitting here waiting for me. The one that I'm looking forward to though is Wolfenstein. Can't wait for that one.
Sounds like you should start playing some board games.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's the progression, Mark. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. Just accept it. And just so you know what's to come, Mark, it's a lot harder to sneak a board game into the house than it is a digital download video game. Because eventually you run out of shelf space and they start piling on the floor. Anyway, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. All right. Okay, so got a message from Chris. It's in number one. Should Microsoft upgrade the Elite controller? What? Oh, I'm too far. Okay. This is yeah. This is from that was the Facebook thing. Was that last week? Yeah, it was. Yeah. So email. I'm in the right section. This is from Mick Wonders. Mick.
Come on, spit it out.
Mick Wonders. Sorry. Let us know how to say that, please. Okay. Hi, guys. Love the whole. Always look forward to catching up with the day after you broadcast. I live in Belfast, Northern Ireland, so catching it live is near impossible. Anyway, just wanted to go over a point you have made on the show many times, but it gets me every time, and that is digital games pricing. I was going to pre-order and pre-install FIFA 18 on the Xbox Store. Price was £54. A quick check at game.co.uk. That's that's like their GameStop, isn't it? Out in
It's like
UK there.
$75. It's
Yeah.
expensive.
So a quick check at game.co.uk shows me the game is available in physical copy at £50. Surely a physical copy would be much more expensive by the time you add in the production costs, delivery, shop signage, store commission, etc. A digital copy should be much cheaper as it can skip all these costs. At the very least, it should price match the cheapest available in store. I can buy a physical copy of FIFA 18 and trade it in a store in 6 months' time and get another 10 to 15 pounds off another game. Where is the incentive to buy online apart from the slightly more convenient nature of it? Thanks for your time, guys. Keep up the good work. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like we've been talking about this for a while, the difference between physical and digital, and there's no reason why digital should cost more. But I mean, there's no real competition. Like as long as people still buy digital, which I'm going to still buy digital, there's really no reason to offer that much of a discount. The onus is on the GameStops of the world, right? That are trying to whatever money that they can get from you in a digital age, they're going to take that. So consumers, I guess, win in that scenario, but they don't win when you've got to get up from your couch and put a disc in. It's exactly the same thing as if you have like a push button start car. It's like I had no idea that this was so much effort to put the key in the ignition, but now that I have a push button start, it's like, oh, my key stays in my pocket. This is great. And so when you rent a car and you got to put the key in the ignition, it's like, what the heck is going on? I feel like the same thing is with the digital age. Like we've had physical games for forever, and now that digital's here, it's like it's too much effort. It's too much upkeep to keep track of these games. I don't. I think I own like 10 physical Xbox One games, and I don't know if I've played even close to half of them. Which sounds really bad, but like they're just out of sight, out of mind. Like everything's on in my games app, and so that's why I just buy everything digitally. I don't even care really that it's more expensive. It'll make up for it in the long run, I feel. And there's a lot of good sales. And Mark, you mentioned the ability to gift. Well, I'm sure you guys talked about it in a previous show, but you can return games now. So if you haven't played, it's like 2 weeks or 10 hours, I think, or something like that. You can return games. So it's getting better, right? But I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where things you can pre-order things at a discounted rate. I think everything's going to be regular price until it goes on sale months down the road.
Yeah, because in part, I think one of the reasons that everything's so expensive, at least how it is up front, like when a game releases, is the fact that they get you because of the impulse. I mean, all of us, I'm sure, have bought something just purely on impulse. And
Never.
this week, it's only Sunday, the start of the week here. But it's sort of similar, like what we saw with these hurricanes lately, where they were selling 26, $30 cases of water because somebody will pay it, probably. And when it's 11 o'clock at night and you're kind of bored, you're not sleepy, you want to play something, you start going through the store, you're going to buy it. And if you're patient, you can find a great deal on a sale on some of these games. You don't have to wait more than 4 weeks before they're like half off.
Right.
So, and man, we talked about this for quite some time before they started these sales with the digital games, because it used to be almost everything was like full time, full MSRP retail price or whatever you want to call it. And I remember us talking about how great it would be to have some sales. Well, they've got them now. And I don't know, maybe we're just too demanding. We're not happy with whatever they give us. Right, but that's the retailer. That's the retailer that's making that cheap. And to get you into the store too,
Right.
or the shop. Yeah, because yeah, and sure. I think didn't they all close? Yeah, right. Yeah, but those retailers, yeah, yeah, those retailers, they'll discount that game for, by $10 or whatever. Just like I said, just to get you in, because you might get a controller, you might get a blender. It's or like Kyle with Cool Stuff, that board game store that he mentioned earlier. How many times have you bought anything from them and not paid and paid shipping? Right?
Right.
They give you these games at like 30% off retail, and then you're like, okay, if I hit $100, I get free shipping. Then you all of a sudden, it's like you wanted one thing and you get 3 games or 4 games.
Right.
And they get us all that way, one way or another. So that discount really isn't a discount.
No, it's not. Never is. It's a lie.
Yeah. What if he's in there?
Mm.
Okay, got a whole ton of releases coming out here. So this is for the week of September 18th through the 24th. We start off on September 19th. We have Marvel versus Capcom Infinite, Blackguards 2. On the 20th of September, we have Super Hydora, Morphite, Pinkapoo, Raiders. Oh, and on the 22nd, this is the big release day here. Raiders of the Broken Planet, Project Cars 2, the Lego Ninjago movie video game, Siam Speedrunners from Hell, the Coma Recut, Inc., Caveman Warriors, Resolve, and Bloody Zombies. So quite a few titles. I don't know if there's anything that really stands out other than Project Cars 2 and then the Lego Ninjago movie video game. Usually those Lego movie games are pretty good. Yeah, Lloyd. Uh, Lloyd. Yeah, yeah. Is that coming out this week or did it already come out?
This week.
Okay, nice. Gotta see that one. Okay, games with gold for Xbox One. We have Forza 5 continuing. So got that for another 2 weeks. Oxenfree is the new game for the second half of September, first half of October for Xbox One. This is the game that I mentioned, I don't know, a couple weeks back. This guy just would not stop talking. So you get to experience that nonstop rambling chatter. Xbox 360 has Battlefield 3 for the second half of the month. Don't forget that one is backwards compatible, so you can play it on Xbox One as well as 360 if you have one of those still. And then lastly, if you're a user of iTunes, make sure to find our show on there. Give us a 5-star rating. The more 5-star ratings that we get, the more we get bumped up in the rankings over there, so more folks can find us and enjoy the show, hopefully. And also wanted to mention once again, we are no longer affiliated with Amazon, and doesn't matter if you use our link anymore, which you probably can't find unless you bookmarked it. So that's about it for episode 451. Do you guys have anything else to add? What? What? What?
There is one more thing that I want to mention. As some of you may know, I am still a Windows Phone user. I have one right here. But that is coming to an end. I am not going to be associated with the Windows 10 mobile platform as of Friday. I have a iPhone 8 on the way, and should be here then, and I am giving up officially on the Windows 10 mobile platform. So it's been 5 years, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's mistakes were made, lessons were learned, but Microsoft has completely abandoned their mobile platform, and I don't think they
Again.
obviously even
Yeah.
bothered to try. It didn't seem like it. I could go. That would be another show. Me trashing on their roadmap, and how they clearly failed multiple times. But so I've learned my lesson. I will be going back to the iPhone. My last iPhone was the iPhone 4S. So I've got an 8 on pre-order, and I'm looking forward to having a decent phone for once. At least like the in-app experience of a multitude of apps. Right, what I've done for Gamerscore is nothing short of insane. So looking forward to that on Friday, but a bittersweet moment as I say goodbye to the Windows mobile platform. But I still I'm chatting with you guys on my Surface Pro, the latest one, and I really do love the Surface, and I love Windows 10, but the phone, it's got to go.
And nowadays, basically, apps are the phone.
Right, right. That's it for me. Good here.
Yep. I'm Rob, also known as Presar. Thanks for listening, everybody.
And this is Kyle, aka Moroniccow. Thanks for having me on again, guys. It was fun.